As you may have noticed, I cut back on some of the streams as far as like I cut WoW out of the streams entirely. That's just, it's nothing against WoW. I love WoW. I just don't feel like I am as engaging to talk to when I'm playing that game. I get very focused, and it's good for the game, but not great for conversation. So, and I definitely want to make sure that people know that I'm here to talk to them if they want to talk or just listen to me ramble. And I'm okay with that too. So I'll cut back on that. I may or may not stream every once in a while on some of the off days, but the schedule that stands of Monday, Wednesday, Friday will likely remain pretty steady going forward. I rather enjoy having a couple days off here and there to plan and also to kind of play games that I can't stream that people are less likely to less fun to watch, like the Evil Genius games and stuff like that. Games on my PlayStation, which you can't see when my TV's over there, which I also can't stream. So I like it gives me time to play some of those other games and the games I really love to play. On top of these other games that I'm playing, like the Baldur's Gates and the at Dead of Nights and stuff, which I'm also enjoying. But yeah, also gives me a chance to test run things like Cyberpunk because unfortunately the most recent update for that kind of kicked the game in the teeth. And at least on my version, I can only face 3 of the 4 cardinal directions without the screen going completely up. So it may or may not be a permanent problem. I hope it's not. I did update the file according to a friend had suggested I try to update the file, check for errors and things that the update may have caused. And when I did that, I found that there were some, so hopefully that's fixed. But I can't trust that game to not goof when I'm trying to stream, so I can't play it when I'm streaming. Unless the goal is to show off some of the problems. But I love that game. I don't want to be one of those people that's bashing it. I think that they made some mistakes coming out with it, but and they should have held off, pushed it back another year even. But it's still one of my favorite things to play right now. I just keep it to myself, play it when I want to play, when I want to play stuff. So anyway, as I said, schedule as a whole will probably remain pretty much the same going forward, with the occasional drop-in stream of stuff like when I'm playing Among Us or something with friends, and we might drop it in if they're okay with that. I don't want to force them to participate if they don't want to, so it'll be up to them, and I have no problem with that either. But that being said, schedule this week is today. We're going to talk more about that Orient Adventures game that I was building. Talk about scripting a little bit. Probably build at least 1, if not 2, of the main villains that are to be. I haven't gotten around to all of them yet, so that's going to be a thing that we need to do. And then depends on timing and everything else. I reached out to a few friends, see if they want to play a couple of games or something later tonight. We'll see how that goes. If they want to play, awesome. I look forward to it. And if not, that's okay. I got plenty of characters to build and work to do. As far as my games that I'm running right now, I do have some planning to do there. Why? I don't want to do too much further planning on those right this moment because one of them is likely to be ending soon. Kind of a culmination of where we're at, and as I already planned. So anyway, I'm not gonna do any planning for those games, but I will be planning for, like I said, the Oriental Adventures book game. I have a total of, I think, 4 villains I need to make. I'm gonna make a ninja tonight, I think, or well, not technically, but you'll see because I have the ideas in my head, and I just need to put pencil to paper and throw together some of the ideas, put some notes in there as far as the who and the what. One of the things that's important with all villains is that they be more than just the I win. It's just there's only so much fun that comes from that. They need motivation because it gives you more to play with as a GM, and it gives you more to do with the people involved. So we're going to do a little bit of that. Like I said, get some people together. We might play a game. See what we can do as far as plowing through as much as we can as far as building. Focus on one villain at a time, and then if we happen to get to a second one, I will. Now, for the Oriental Adventures book or game that I'm designing, I actually have made the villains leveled player character tier characters, including all of their stats. Now, when I put it together in a book or a file, eventually I'll reduce that down to the important ones. I want to include like literally a big character sheet for each one because you don't really need all of that, but you can have a lot of fun building it up to that point and then just chop off the stuff that's unnecessary so that it's a little more concise and more playable as far as like a GM doesn't necessarily need, all that extra shit that's on the character sheet. Really, you just need your primary stats, the bonuses they get, their saving throws, if they have any feats or skills, what their primary weapon is, and the main focus skills, like if it's a sneaky character, what their stealth is, if it's really a observant character, what their spot is, just those basic ones. Of course, as a player character build, they'll be leveled. And my intention is to have these guys as level 16. The plan as far as this oriented book is that there's no matter how many player characters you have, you will always have one or two, depending on the player characters and what they decide to do, villains that they may have to deal with. So they're always fighting a slightly uphill battle. Again, this is not really about winning for them so much as it is about regaining their honor and protecting the innocent and doing what follows the Bushido of the samurai. So that being said, the villain I want to work on today is, let me see if I can find him real quick. Where is he? No, those are the heroes. Oh no, I lost the character picture already. Oh, there we go. There we are. Where'd he go? There. I don't have a picture of him. Let me look at my photos here. I do plan on sharing my other screen here in just a minute once I have all of the pictures I need up and running. What I need to do is find the right guy, because my plan for tonight is to make the stealth villain that they have to deal with. But I don't want to use the ones that were used for player characters, and I don't want to use something really kind of blah. We've done a really good job of picking out pictures and things that have a lot of flavor to them. So I don't want to do that. I think today, this guy doesn't have a name yet, but I'm going to give him a name soon. So the villain in question that we're working on today, he is this guy. You can't see him because I was putting the wrong screen. It's okay. So this guy is going to be where most of the villains in this are either tainted by are blood mages of some sort. This guy, I'm going to give him some taint and some special abilities, but his primary abilities are going to have nothing to do with that. The reason being is because you don't want to be a one-trick pony. You don't want to have all of your villains being the exact same. It takes away some of the mystery. When every time they turn around, every villain is using the same abilities, especially when you've got a cast of villains versus just that one guy. Like if you have one big bad, then throw everything in the kitchen sink into him and whatever. But since I have a cast of villains, I want to make sure that they're all unique and they all have something special about them. And this guy I have some fun plans for, because I have, let's see, what do I have? I have stuff. Let's see, what do I have? Oh yeah. So I opened up a thingy here. Where'd it go? There we go. Here he is. So what we're going to do is we are going to build into this. This is a special class. It is a prestige class. So you have to have specific stats before you can step into it. But it's a special class called Ghostface Killer. Now, one thing that I always found with some of these custom classes and characters and things like that, they, how do I put this? They can be very boring, or they can have really dumb names. Like Ghostface Killer sounds cool until you realize that it was ripped right out of another thing, and then it was ripped from something else, and then you're like, well, But the truth of the matter is, it's not a matter of how much, how creative the name is. The important thing is what we can do with it. Now, this guy, the cool thing about this particular class is, one, it gets sneak attack. As a stealth-based character, I'm going to start with building kind of a rogue character. And this guy has a sneak attack. He also has an ability that literally will force a character to make a saving throw or die. Now, as a GM, am I going to use that? Probably not. I'll give it to the character. I'll allow him to have it. However, I'm not going to utilize that too terribly much against the player characters, especially because we're trying to tell a story, we're trying to help them. And there's nothing less fulfilling than walking into a room and suddenly just dropping dead. It just feels bad. And since I already created in this whole scenario a thing where the player characters are just not going to have the time they need to heal, I don't want them to use that. However, part of that death attack is a paralysis. He can cause them to either just die, or he can paralyze them. Now, that's something that I could use, because you can have a lot of fun with that. Creates a lot of tension, allows the other player characters to react, and there are ways out of it. Multiple saving throws, how long does it last, that kind of thing. In this particular case, these guys, basically they get penalized for a D6 rounds per class level. Now, as a GM, likely I'll roll a D6 and I'll just use that D6 and leave them paralyzed for, 3 rounds or whatever it is. I'm not going to paralyze somebody for 15 rounds, because this guy is going to end up being like a 6th level rogue, 10th level Ghostface Killer, because the villains are all 16th level. And as a 6th level rogue, 10th level 10 Ghostface Killer, he would freeze someone for 1d6 plus 10 rounds. We don't want that, because again, how fulfilling is that? Not only does that force the player character, now, what you can do is, if you want to make it a little bit longer, you can give them a round. As a GM, you can give that every round saving throw. You don't have to, especially if you're just using the D6. I would say if you roll a D6, just roll a D6, honor it, cut it in half if you don't want it to be too long. Just enough to add to the tension of the scene, but not so much to leave any one player character sitting there feeling like they're just useless. Because there's no fun in that. Nobody likes just lying around doing literally nothing while everybody else is rushing around doing stuff. It's one thing if there's moments of highlight. It's another thing to be just completely helpless. It doesn't feel good. So you want to try to avoid that if you can, unless that's the point of the scene, is that you just don't stand a chance. And this, and with this particular villain, some moments will be that. That's the point of some of the moments for him, but not every moment. And it's important to emphasize that, so that, again, as I've said before, as a GM, our goal is not a GM versus PC situation. The players are not your enemy. The game isn't even your enemy. You're a facilitator. Your goal is to tell that story, give them what they need, allow them to do what they want, and everything is geared towards helping the players tell an epic story and do something amazing. It's not about, can I kill them? Because the truth of the matter is, as a GM, you could kill any PC at any point, anytime you wanted. All you don't even have to justify it. Truthfully, you can justify it pretty easily. Oh, I drop a ninja on you, and this ninja is wearing an ethereal ring, so you can't hit him, but he's able to hit things in the material plane. And when he does 36d6 worth of damage because I say so. Well, I've got 10 hit points. Well, unfortunately, because he did 60 points of damage, which is more than 3 times your health, you're just dead. You don't get death saving throws. You don't get a chance to come back. Your body is obliterated, and you can't even be resurrected anymore. Yay, the GM won. Yay. No, you lost. Everyone lost in that situation. So you don't want to do that. But that doesn't mean don't make really scary things, because them overcoming those scary things can be a big part of the fun sometimes. So anyway, this gentleman, he has that death attack. He also gains later on, he gains an ability called Frightful Attack, where he can actually inflict, I think it's, we'll say, panicked. He can make characters panicked. This is also is a temporary effect. It lasts for a little while. It can give the villain a chance to do something fun, or like cause all of the people there to become panicked, and then he kills off that NPC that they were trying to save, and thereby causing more drama. Wonderful. Nothing wrong with that. Now, he also has an ability with the ghost face where he gets this beyond touch, where he can actually make his weapon able to attack things in the corporal realm where he's incorporeal. As you can see, I was kind of pulling from that when I was doing my example. You can have a lot of fun with that, as long as the player characters are able to eventually interact with that in some way. Gain the ability to see super ethereal creatures. This won't play any kind of part in what we've got going forward, but it could be fun later. Let's see, what else does it go? You can step into the incorporeal realm as well. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with that. So we're going to build towards this. To that end, I am going to be writing on paper. I could create a big character sheet digitally, but as I said, I'm not going to do that because there's just too much information. Eventually, I will type it all up to help create the file, but right this exact second, not the point. So I'm kind of lazy when it comes to generating stats for NPCs and pre-gen characters. I take a standard set depending on what I want it to do, and I use it. Like I'll go in here, and I have a villain, so I already have his stats, and so I'm just going to take the same stats, and I'm going to shuffle them around and assign them to this new guy. That will allow me a little bit of freedom. It avoids having to roll a bunch of extra dice, which, if you want to do that, go for it. I find it becomes a colossal waste of time after a while, because it doesn't accomplish anything. So this particular guy, as an assassin, he doesn't need a lot of charisma. I have a stat 12 already in the other one, so I'll give him a 12 charisma. I'm going to give him he doesn't need to be particularly strong, but he doesn't need to have a high dex. So we're going to increase his dex to 1 or to 20, because that's one of the stats I gave the other one. Now these guys are all corrupted by blood magic, so they have a little bit of buff to their stats in that I gave each of them giving a stat. When I did roll the dice, I had 18, 18, 15, 14, 12, 12. High stats. The player characters have equally high stats. Not quite that bad, but it's still pretty high. It's okay. Makes them a little scarier. Doesn't make them invulnerable. Doesn't really break anything. Now, so that being said, an assassin, he needs a high dex. So give him that 20 dexterity. I'm not going to make him super duper strong. I am going to make him pretty smart, though, because I think that tactically speaking, he should be very smart. So he's going to have a lot of skill points. So let's see. I think we'll throw that 15 into... We're going to throw 12 into Constitution. He doesn't need a ton of hit points. He's hard to hit to begin with. We're going to throw that 15 into Strength. So he's pretty strong, but not like God tier strength. And then we have to decide between Wisdom and Intelligence as far as where I want to put the other. I have a 12. I have a, what do I have? I have a 14 and I have a 20 left. I'm going to go ahead and put a 20 into Intelligence. and a 14 into wisdom. So he's pretty wise, and he's incredibly smart. The reason I put it into intelligence is because in 3.5, you get skill points based on your intelligence modifier. So I want to make sure that he's getting a lot of skill points so he can do what he's designed for. I might go back and tweak that later, but for now, it gets the job done. Right in my bonuses, so that's taken care of and covered. 2, 2, 2, 5. So that's it. That's stat-wise, that's easy. Now, this guy is according. If we look at the picture here, let's look at the picture for a second. It's impossible to tell whether this is a man or a woman. This can be a lot of fun because it allows for a reveal. It allows for maybe this character looks female or behaves and everyone assumes it's female, and then when revealed later it's a guy and he was simply just somewhat feminine, and then the player characters somehow know that character. Or vice versa, you could go the other way. I'm not going to assign a gender to this character simply because I'm still working out what I want him to be. I'm going to go ahead and build the stats and everything, and while I'm doing that, I'll spitball the ideas of what I want to do as far as what he's capable of. So his dex modifier is a +5, so go ahead and write that into his initiative. Base attack's not relevant. We are going to go ahead and go straight to you. And so this is not one, but I did, as you can see, I had already set aside the various books that I might need. In this case, we're doing Rogue, and I am going to go to get to this Ghostface Killer. We need any evil. Well, that's already covered. Don't worry about that. Base attack +5. To get a +5 as a Rogue. Wrong direction. There we go. +5 as a Rogue means that you are a 7th level Rogue. Oh, okay. So that'll change things a little bit. He won't be a 10th level Ghostface. He'll be a 9th level Ghostface. That's okay. That could be a lot of fun too. So, let's see here. There we go. All right. So we already know class. He's going to be Rogue / Ghostface. And now I know that he's going to be a 7th level Rogue, 9th level Ghostface. So I'll go ahead and write those in there too, because I know we're going to max out Ghostface as far as I can. I love the extra bonuses and stuff they get from doing that. So I will pencil things in here. All right, let's zoom in just a little bit here. Go ahead and write it. So as a 7th level Rogue, these are his stats. This dude right here. I don't know why it's being a butt. Covering all of them. Yeah, there we go. Whatever. Doesn't really matter. Anyway. All right. So he's got a 2 will save. He's got a 5 reflex save. He's got a 2 fortitude save, and he's got a base attack of +1. +5 rather. That'll change, of course, once I start stacking the other stuff on there. But it's easier just to go ahead and start it right where we're at. That covers all of that. He also will go on over to his abilities and types, right? Sneak attack. That's there. Trap finding, which won't matter, but we'll write that anyway, because you never know. He gets evasion. He gets trap sense 1. Trap sense 2, actually. And he gets uncanny dodge. Now, these characters are human. So he gets the bonus of being a human, which means he gets an extra feat at first level. And then he also gains the ability to multi-class, which is irrelevant. Let's see, did I get all of those? I did. Okay, cool. So there's that. Now what I want to do now is I want to go ahead and look at the hit die. And what I'm doing is I'm just penciling in the basics. I know that as a rogue, he'll have 7d6 7d6, and I know that he'll have 9d8. And I know that because the Silent Warrior, it's right there, gets a d8. I'm not covering any of this yet. We're focusing on Rogue at the moment. So I'll go ahead and pencil in all of the class skills here. That will allow me to, again, just kind of know what he can and can't do. So class skills here in order of appearance. Appraise. And again, some of these we won't even bother using. I'll just assign values to them for the most part. But I do try to be true to the system. So the system says he has 30 skill points. I won't assign 60. I want the player characters to feel like they're not facing an insurmountable odds. They're facing something that has value and has limitations. So even as I make them stronger, and I give them extra bonuses and like superhuman things, I'm still including in that the chance that there's going to be, well, they're not super great at insert thing here. You know, this guy's going to be good at trap finding. He's going to be good at a lot of stuff, but he's not going to be a bruiser. He doesn't have ridiculous amounts of hit points. He doesn't have, he's not like super duper freaking strong. You know, all that stuff is not really a part of it. So I just keep going down here. And all I'm doing is filling in the circles at the moment. So I know. Rogues, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, are the skill mongers of 3.5. They get a ridiculous amount of skills. They also get a ridiculous amount of skill points. The only class that gets more skill points to split between things is the wizard, I think. I have to double check, but I think the wizard gets either 10 or 12 plus their intelligence modifier, whereas rogue get 8. But rogues have more skills to play with. That was in 3.5. That was one of their things, was you could just kind of blend them with a lot of different things. Right? I personally prefer the 3.5 rogue over the 5th edition rogue. I feel like they really kind of kneecapped a lot of the customization for 5th edition. But that doesn't make them less cool. It just makes them something else. I'm all the way down to intimidate and jump now as far as filling these squares as I'm rambling. Jump knowledge local. So go ahead and fill that in too. Yeah, I agree. 5th edition, I feel like they overly they essentially just said if you're a rogue, you are one of these basic rogues, and they put out a handful of, like, you know, at 3rd level or second level or whichever one it is. That's when you get a little bit of customization. But the truth of the matter is, the majority, like if you build a rogue, let's say you make an arcane trickster, which is, you know, a fun thing to do. You got an arcane trickster, you got a rogue abilities with a few kind of sneaky, stealthy spells. Awesome, right? What happens when you run into another arcane trickster of the same level as you? 9 times out of 10, other than their raw stats, which might be a little different, they are essentially identical to you. One arcane trickster is interchangeable with another arcane trickster, and this is my biggest complaint with 5th edition. There's some customization in that you can pick up feats, you can take ability score buffs, things like that. But ultimately, one is the same as the other, as the other, as the other. So it really does become well, I've already played that scenario. Whereas in 3.5, if you made a rogue, you could make 30 rogues, and each of them would be different. And that's why I like it better. I feel there's more control in the player's hands. And I feel like I've said that before, but I never get tired of saying it. There are plenty of people who would disagree with me, and they are welcome to that opinion. That's why it's an opinion. In my case, though, I definitely feel like you're missing out, which is why I play 3.5 when I run a lot of my games. But I run 5th edition for people that need the introductory or who legitimately love it. I have no problem with that. But if I have a choice, I'll run 3.5 most of the time. It's a little more complicated. There's a little more to do. A little crunchier. but that crunch gives you options. Plus 5th edition monsters are wimps. they just are. That actually, segue. Let me show you something. Okay, here's an example. Let me find it real quick. Get in here. I'm going to go into the standard, and I'm going to go into the monster manual once I find it. Monster manual. Just the basic monster manual. We're not even going to go into anything unusual. We're just going to go here. Monster manual 3.5, right? I'm going to type skeleton. Okay, yeah. All right, and here's what I wanted. This is a basic skeleton in 3.5. Rar. Let's go down a little bit so you can see it. Okay, here it is. Basic skeleton, 3.5. Why did I pick skeleton, you ask? Well, because they're the most mundane thing you can run into. You run into, every campaign you run. How many campaigns you played fantasy-wise where there isn't an evil necromancer, or at some point during your lower level fights, you're fighting skeletons. Pretty normal, right? All right, so we're in 5e. What do we do? Yeah, I don't know either. Oh, man. I wanted to actually show you this. All right, give me just a second. I'm going to have to finagle this a little bit. All right. So this is your human warrior skeleton, basic, medium. This is the basic skeleton right here, right? Oh, stop that. 1 second. Okay, so I cannot find my PDF of Monster Manual. I guess I didn't download it, so I'll have to re-download that. So instead, got the book. Beautiful book, by the way. Love these books. All right, so I'm gonna flip back here to the back. Skeleton. So, all right. Basic skeleton for the basic human warrior. First things first, hit die. 1d12 for 3.5. You got it right here. Average 6 hit points. Main skeleton, basic skeleton in 5e. 2d8 plus 4. So it's a little more hit points. Cool. I love that. Initiative in 3.5 plus 5. Pretty decent bonus, right? Initiative for skeleton in 5th edition. Yeah, plus 2. That's it. Plus 2. They're kind of slow. Speed, 30 feet, no change there. Armor class, base, 15. And then they have various armor classes based on flat-footed and whatnot, but we're not going to worry about that. Armor class for a skeleton, 5th edition, 13. So, not like an 8 or something, but they're not super easy to hit. Base attack, plus 0, plus 1. Base attack, no bonuses whatsoever. Get down. Fluff butt. Ruff. Fluff butt. No, I lied. Okay, so base attack for a skeleton is a plus 4. So they're a little, they hit a little easier, but they're much easier to hit. They have a few more hit points, but again, much easier to hit. Keeping in mind that this is a quarter CR creature in here, and it's a 1/3 CR creature in 3rd edition, right? Okay. Damage vulnerabilities. We'll jump straight to damage vulnerabilities. They are vulnerable to bludgeoning. Let's see here. Do we have any damage vulnerabilities whatsoever on this? No, we don't. No damage vulnerabilities. He's just is what it is. But what we do have is this. Damage immunities. Poison. Cool. We got that. No problem. Conditions, immunities. Exhaustion and being poisoned. Okay. It's an undead. It can't get tired. It doesn't have a poison problem. Senses as 60 feet of dark vision. It has a passive perception of 9. Passive perception is something unique to 5th edition. 3rd edition didn't have passive perception. They would roll for it. If you knew what their bonus was, you might be like, oh, they have a bonus of 13. So if you roll like a 10, then they're going to get seen. It's an interesting addition, but it does take a little bit of the, turns it into a little bit more of a cartoonish, like, well, you're just really observant, so you guarantee to see this thing. But it happened the other way too. So that's it for 5th edition. That's it. That's a skeleton. Now, then we look at a skeleton. We go back here and look at 3.5 skeletons. They have damage reduction 5, unless it's bludgeoning. They take regular damage for bludgeoning, but anything else hits them, they have an automatic damage reduction of 5. So that lesser amount of hit points, oh, that's all fine and dandy, because if you hit them with a sword, you do less than 5 points of damage. They take nothing. They do have that dark vision 60 feet. They're immune to cold, and then they gain what's called Undead Traits. Now, I don't think... All right. They have the Undead Trait thing. But the thing about that is that it is a... We'll have to look for it. I'm going to go all the way back to the top here, because the thing about the Undead Traits is you see all of these like skeletons and things like that have them. But you have to go back to like the first page to find out what they are. So, all right, let's see if we can find them real quick here. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Yeah, da da da. Let's go to the Alip. All right. 334. Go all the way back to the back then. Swarms, Wardrobe, Night Hags. Yep, there's all this stuff. This is errata. They added. This was an actual like mini adventure they put in the back of the book. It's kind of fun. Mm-hmm. All the monsters, listen to the challenge rating. Undead Traits. Here we are. Undead Types. This is what it is. An undead creature has the following features. They give 12-sided hit die, which is unique. A lot of monsters had D8s or D10s, but they got 12. They have a base attack bonus. There's an out. Goodwill save, skill points. They're immune to all mind. They're immune to all mind effects, which means that charms, compulsions, phantasms, patterns, and morale effects do not affect them. 5th edition monsters, not so much. They're immune to poison, sleep, paralysis, stunning, disease, and death effects. 5th edition monsters, only immune to that poison. They are not subject to critical hits, or non-lethal damage, or abilities drain, or energy drain abilities. 3.5th edition, all that stuff's stuff they gotta deal with. They cannot heal damage on its own, so they don't heal. They are immune to any effect that requires a fortitude save, unless it also works on objects or is harmless. So if you try to do something that affects their constitution, they don't have one. They're dead. You can't affect it. They don't have a risk of massive damage. If you do in massive damage, if someone does 3/4 of your hit points, you just die in 3.5. 5th edition, not a thing. Some of these things I'm glad aren't around anymore. I mean, I'm glad that there's no massive damage in 5th edition, where there's a massive damage roll where you just die from getting hit. It's not worth the headache. But they're immune to that. They can't be raised dead. They can't be reincarnated. They are immune to resurrections, true resurrections, because they're already undead. They're already dead. It can't happen. They gain proficiencies in whatever weapons and whatever you want. They also don't breathe, eat, or sleep, which means that they're immune to anything that requires them to do any of those things. 5th edition, not a thing. 5th edition, you can charm a skeleton. You can be like, I know that you work for that necromancer, but today you work for me. Boom. Does it have less hit points? Technically, but with damage reduction of anything, damage reduction of 5 against anything other than bludgeoning, I would argue that's irrelevant. So, point is, these monsters are wimps. That's a basic skeleton. Okay, I'm done with that soapbox. I'll go back to what I was doing. I feel very, very, very strongly about that. Let's see if I got some more messages here. Looks like we might try to play some Phasmophobia here in a little bit, which could be fun. So anyway, back to this. I stopped at listen as far as listing their skills. Listen, move silently, open locks, is perform on that list. Perform is profession, search, sense, motive, sleight of hand. Perform. Interesting. I believe that was a typo. I'm gonna add that in there. No, that's the thing. Profession, read lips, rise, search, sense, motive. There's a skill called pickpockets, and in the 3.5 book, for some bizarre reason, rogues don't have it. Pretty sure that's a typo. It happens. Search, sense, motive, sleight of hand, spot. They also don't have tumble. Search, sense, motive, spot. I believe tumble is also a typo. I'm going to write that one in. Use magic device, because that was also a thing. And use rope. Tying knots and tying people up and stuff like that. That was a rogue thing. So this guy has an intelligence modifier plus 5, which means he gets 13 times his 13 times 4 for first level, and then 13 more every level. So he gets, what is it? 52 skill points at first level. And then, let's look this up. Calculator. Just get out the calculator. He has 6 more levels of rogue. So 6 times 13, 78 plus 52. He's got 130 skill points to spend. I'm not going to spend all of these right now, because I know what I'm going to end up doing is just basically maxing out the skills he has based on that. I just want to get the numbers written down. That, and I don't want to make you sit here and watch me do this. The number crunching is a little less entertaining as it is just planning wise. All right, so looks like we're getting some Phasmophobia. A couple of buddies want to do that. That could be fun. So anyway, back to where we're at. So we are looking at a list of all of these different things. Base attack bonus. We already know we had to get there. The goal was to get to that plus 5, and we did. So we'll go ahead and write that in there on the top. Actually, yeah, we'll just do that. So that is the gist. Now, as a rogue or as a player character, every 4 levels, in 3rd edition, every 4 levels you get to add an ability point. That's where his 20s are going to come from. The original stats were 18. I went ahead and incorporated them in. I already know that. That way I don't have. This is one of the reasons why I use a standard array of stats for each character if they're the same level. It's just easier. I don't have to worry about that. But that does mean he'll be 16th level when it's all said and done. He gets a feat at 3rd, 6th, 9th, 12th, 15th. So he gets 5 feats plus being human, so 6. And there's some that he gets automatically, which is cool. So he has 6 feats to spend total. Now the thing about that is he's going to have to take certain things to get this ninja. So plus, we know we're going to get that. We know we're going to get concentration. Those are no problems. Now here's where it matters. These feats. He has to have all of these. So he has to have Death Blow. He has to have Improved Initiative. He has to have Power Attack. And he has to have Quick Draw. So that brings his total available feats-wise as far as I've got, just kind of goofing off, down to 2. So we'll see where that leaves us. I want to go ahead and write down the points he's going to get. He's going to end up being a 9th level Ghostface Killer, which means he gets a +9 to his base attack. Now you'll notice he only has 1 plus. In the player's handbook, if you look at the Thief, at 8th level, he gets extra attacks. I've kind of inherently nerfed him a little bit in that he literally gets 1 attack around. Nothing wrong with that. It's actually a good thing because we're planning on making him hit really, really hard. So his base saves for those. His ability modifiers, I'll go ahead and write those in there too. So I have that. 1, 5, wisdom is 2. There we go. I wrote that down wrong. There we go. Okay, so let's see. He's going to have a +9. So his base attack bonus is a +13. Or 14, rather. That's really, really, really amazing. He'll hit really fucking hard for that. That's awesome. So as a 9th level, he gets everything above this line. First thing is a +6 to his Fortitude save. I'm going to add that on the list here. 6, 3, 3. 3, 3. So he's going to have some really high saves, but he's a 16th level character. He should. He has 1, 2, here we go. 1, 2, 3 increases to his sneak attack. So he is now doing 76 with a sneak attack. He's going to hit really hard once. But he'll hit super hard. 76 is a lot. He's going to be scary. He's going to have Beyond Sight. Beyond Sight. He's going to have that death attack that I was telling you about before. He's going to have Beyond Touch. He's going to have Ghost Sight and Spirit Sword. So he can see the ethereal when he's even in the material plane. He can make his weapon attack things in the material plane from the ethereal plane. Yeah, he's got a bunch of cool shit he can do. Now, as we look in here, he can do Beyond Sight 5 times a day and Spirit Sword 2 times a day. 5 per day. Now, this is important because adding those limitations, the players, when you're challenging the players, you're as much building towards, like, they'll observe. They'll pay attention. Well, he's used that already. Well, he's used it again. Well, why didn't he use it a 3rd time? Well, because he can't. And so those deductive reasoning skills are something that the players get to take part of. So let's see. Death attacks is limited to that. Beyond sight twice a day. Frightful attack. I forgot to write that one down. Fright attack. Okay. Beyond touch. He's got the beyond touch twice a day as well. So that way we know that he can do it. But there's a limitation. Ghost sight does not reveal the method by which the etherealness was achieved, nor does it reveal creatures who were hiding, concealed, or otherwise. Hard to see. At 10th level, the ghost killer can see invisible creatures with the same conditions. So until he hits 10th level, which he's not going to be, he can't see things that are invisible. And that's good to know. Because if the players manage to pull something off like that. Anyway. Lost my train of thought. Okay. So we know he has to have all those feats. We know what those do. So Death Blow, interestingly enough, will allow him to just kill someone when they're immobilized. So this is interesting because while we don't necessarily want to be doing that all the time, knowing it's a threat is a whole different thing. The players know that there's a threat of imminent death. They will treat it differently than if they think they can just take him out and there's no threat. So, have him use it on an NPC. Have him use it on a strong NPC the player characters have been working with for a long time. So they know he's capable of it. And they know that it's not to be fucked with. Then they'll plan around it. And they'll when they're planning on how to take out this particular person, they'll think about it and they'll decide how they want to work it out instead of just charging headlong in, which is boring for everybody. In my opinion. All right. So, something else that's interesting is because he's so smart in 3rd edition, that means he knows a lot of languages. I'm just going to go ahead and write common. I'm going to write dark speak. And then I'm just going to do +4. I don't care what other languages. It's not going to matter. It's not something that's going to come into play. Because the players are speaking largely in the common of the common of the world that they're in. And the only reason he might need to speak anything else is if he's talking to someone in another language, and then you simply are going to tell them that he's talking in another language. So it doesn't matter. So here is an extraordinarily nasty person. Now, because we want to have some fun with this, we're going to go and we're going to look at what kinds of feats we can do with this. I want to look at the feats that are specific to the Oriental Handbook because I'm trying to flavor it as much as possible with that. Now, he had to take improved initiative, death blow, power attack, and quick draw. So we can draw a weapon very fast and do a lot of damage with it. He gets dodge automatically. I don't know what karmic strike is, so that's something I'm going to look into. I think that might be kind of fun. Let's see here. Those are all martial art things. We don't need those. Not pertinent to him. I think expertise, maybe. Karmic strike, probably, because he gets dodge from being no, he doesn't get dodge. Okay. So we might do dodge and then karmic strike. I think if I remember what that is exactly. Yeah. So basically, you make him a little easier to hit, and then he gets to attack someone who hits him. That could be a lot of fun and lead to a lot of people thinking around it, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to give him dodge, because he needs that to get to karmic strike, and then I'm going to give him karmic strike. This means that when the player characters actually do manage to hit him, he's going to smack them back. And that's fun. Now, in all of this, we're kind of looking at, I intentionally didn't do a lot of his stats as far as like statting out his skills and things like that. I do want to look at one thing here. Where does it say? This does not say how many skill points he gets per level. Oh, there it is. 2. So this guy's not going to get a ton of skill points per level of Grossface Killer. He's got 9 levels of it. Is that right? Yeah. 9 levels of it. So with a high, even with a high. Hi, Asmund. How's it going? I'm fiddling with 3.5 characters. 2 plus intelligence modifier, so he gets 7 per level. So 9 times 7 is what? 56, I think. 63, maybe. I think it's 63. Calculator. Boop. 9 times 7, 63. So that means he's got 63 more skill points to spend. That. And skill-wise, anything different here? Nothing new. Oh no, here we are. Move silently, tumble, concentration, search, listen, spot, Jutsu, focus, and intimidate. So I'm just going to go in here and mark Jutsu focus, because that wasn't on the list before. And the second one will be concentration. That was also not on this list. So there we go. So I have all of these bonuses to play with. So yeah, but that's how you stat them out. Contemplate how you want to do it, where you want it to go. I still have a lot of work to do as far as stats, as far as like assigning where the skill points go, what his weapons are. He'll have some sort of a magical weapons and or armor to help buff some of the other things, probably give those some sort of a focus. But something that, because of the nature of the story I'm telling, that I'm giving everyone, on the bad side, not the good side, of course, is I am giving them all something unique to out of here. Let's see if we can find it real quick. I have lost it. That is kind of annoying. Well, no, it's in here. Nope. Okay. So that's something I have to look into later, because I don't have it right in front of me. Which is okay. We have all of this we've taken account on. We don't really need this anymore. We've now contemplated all of this, and I've accounted for it all on the character sheet, so I don't really need this anymore either. I do want to make sure that I hit these bases, because again, I want to follow the same rules I make the players follow. I don't like to make my own rules as far as that's concerned. I'll make my own rules as far as like what custom items the characters have and stuff, but that again is more geared towards making it interesting, making it challenging, making it a good story. Not, ooh, I really wanted to give this guy to build a sword that would, like, you know, cut through a mountain in one swing. Well, okay, that's terrifying. How do the players have to deal with that? And of course, you can find ways around it and do things, but just in and of itself. Also, equally terrifying, when they do manage to kill the guy who's got it, what happens to the sword? Because guarantee you the player's going to want to pick it up. Guarantee it. And unless you make up some BS reason why they can't, they now have a sword that can cut through a mountain. Enjoy that one. You did it to yourself. So anyway, the next thing I really want to talk about actually is what you do with a character like this. Got this badass that's like just massive monstrosity of I'm going to just butcher things. Equal in strength, if not a little bit stronger than the player characters already. But how do we want to make this person interesting? What do we want to do to explain it? First thing is, because the story we're writing is all about redemption, all about the player characters regaining their honor, we want the villains to fill that same kind of void. We want them to be examples of what not to do. Sure, they're powerful, but at what cost? And so for that, I'm going to use my little note section on the back of the sheet because I want to write down some stuff. So the question becomes, how do we want to do this? Well, I've already got a player character in the story who is related to one of the NPCs. Already got that written in, so I don't want to go that route a second time. I don't want it to be a constant thing of, well, this is my brother, so it's my job. Well, this is my sister, so this is my job. But you do want to have some sort of a tie. You do want to have that something to make it as a hook. So in this case, I think I want to make this guy a legendary warrior. I want to make him someone that the world as a whole thought was just gone from the world. And so we want this person to be someone famous that has fallen. So I think what we're going to do is I'll write down, I think as a note, I'm going to write famous warrior. What this person is famous for is unknown. Now, most of my villains are male, so I actually want to go with this one being female. I have a pretty even split between male and female pre-gens for the players to play, but I want to make sure that I have, I want to have that representation on both sides. So this is a famous female warrior. And this is where you kind of want to delve into the story of the world a little bit. I have not done additional research as far as how that's concerned, so I'll have to dig into the where and the why of it. But I think this is a warrior who disappeared after winning some famous battle. So this person disappeared after winning some famous battle. Maybe one of the player characters has an item that used to belong to them. Yeah, I like that. Let's do that. So one of the PCs needs to have has heirloom. Now, the fun thing about having an heirloom is this person has forgotten who they were. This person obscures everything about themselves, hides in plain sight, for all intents and purposes, embraced the darkness and the shadows and the blood realm. So what is he going to do? Why is it that she did this? Well, I think, and it might change later after I determine what the battle was for and whatnot, but I think that she probably experienced some major loss during that battle, and while she was able to win, she won for the sake of vengeance and for the sake of a dishonorable victory that ultimately turned her down that darker path. So I'm going to write down dishonorable victory. Now, the heirloom should be tied to that. There should be something to do with it. We want it to be something innocuous, something small, easily transportable that any of the player characters can have. Maybe even something that's providing a benefit to the player characters. Because, again, the idea of honor, the idea of building towards something special, and the idea of making the necessary sacrifices to do the right thing is part of the theme of this whole adventure. So because of that, it should be some sort of an item that's providing a benefit to the group, to the player characters specifically. In this case, I'm gonna say, let's see, we can go with a jewelry, but I think that's a little boring. I think there's always that doodad, that that special fine piece of jewelry, that special fine sword, or whatever. That's always the case. So I want to do something different. I want it to be something unique. What if it's a mirror? It's still something small. It's innocuous. It's something special. What if it's a mirror that allows the viewer to look upon their enemies? This could add an interesting mechanic for the party as a whole, in that if one of the player characters has this item, then they are able to spy upon their enemies. Of course, it's a cursed item, so it has to be something more than just that. But that benefit is something that the party would have to give up in order to get this individual to turn, because they want to redeem the irredeemable, to bring back the person that was. So I think I like that idea. I like that idea of it being a mirror, partially because there's also some thematicness to it being a mirror, because you look into a mirror, it's a reflection. It's that same thing as like the evil queen in Snow White, where she's looking into a mirror and asking the fairest of them all, and that looking at yourself and then looking deeper kind of thing. Will all the player characters get that? No, but some might, and if they do, awesome. And if they don't, that's okay too. So we're gonna call it a cursed silver mirror. I think that the curse is that it requires blood sacrifice to work, so the player character would have to cut their hand and drip blood on it to make it work. I'm gonna write that down actually, so I like that, because it's, again, that's once more thematically tied to what we're already talking about. So there. So this character, this famous warrior, this epic victor that ultimately won for the shogunate, disappeared after a battle. Now the question is, what is this mirror tied to? Why is it so important? It's not hers. I don't picture this character as being an especially vain character. Very noble before her fall, I would say. And in that case, also her charisma is a 12. So she's not the most charismatic person in the world. So a mirror would ultimately be mostly functional for someone like that. So why is it important? What is it tied to? Was it tied to someone she loved? I don't think so. I think having it tied to someone she loved is a little too trope. Was it tied to someone she worked for? Maybe. Was it tied to someone? Is it tied to something she didn't do? Where her failure was? I think we can do a lot with that. I think we can have some fun designing why this person's failure caused this. And the blood curse can also be tied to her, in that only her blood can end the curse. Which I also like, because then that means that her blood probably started the curse to begin with. But what did she do? What happened that caused a silvered mirror to turn into a cursed magic item? Specifically an heirloom to her. I think it's a failure on her part. Oh, what if during the battle, wherever it is, she went into a village, or went into was hunting someone who had been harassing her troops, had been her target. And she went into a village or a building looking for her target. And as she was exploring, she glimpsed a metal gleam in her eye, and she turned, and without thinking, she threw her dagger, or her kunai, as she's a ninja, to eliminate the threat. And instead of hitting someone that was threatening, the metal was the glint of this mirror. And the person that she saw that was holding it was, let's go with a small child. So I'm going to make a note. She accidentally killed a small child. So now we know what her motivation is. Why did she continue down that dark path? Because she blamed the wrong person for it. She blamed the villain. Maybe the monster that she tried, maybe the monster that she was hunting, the creature, the samurai, the ninja, the whatever it was. Maybe that person was the reason the little girl had wandered into her path. Maybe he was standing behind. And that fury of being fooled into doing that is what caused that problem. Maybe that fury is what fuels her bloodlust. And the blood mages, and the blood sorcerers, and the Shadow Realm has taken that and twisted her heart around it so much that it's all she sees is that hatred. And every person that she kills is just another representation of that being, that person that she was supposed to kill, that she has still never managed to kill. That could be a lot of fun. And if the party decides to delve into that, it adds to some story for them. And if they don't, well, then they have a badass villain to fight. And that's entirely on how the party wants to do that. But you give them that as options. You provide those benefits and those possibilities. And I think you can have a lot of fun with something like that. And suddenly now we have a really badass villain who looks like that normally, but who is in fact somewhat of a tragic character, somewhat of a warning tale against the embracement and against the embracing of vengeance and hatred over temperament. It builds towards something more for the actual plan of giving the player's characters a way to deal with it that allows them that option, that ability to restore their honor, that ability to choose the right path over the wrong path that they've been pursuing. I think, yeah, I like her. I like her already, and she's not done. I think that's amazing. Now, something that I like to do, let me see if I can, okay. So something that I like to do that a lot of people don't bother with is I pull a lot of names because I'm not great with names. I'm not great at it. I don't always do anything, but here's what I've been doing with this. I'm going to go here. Here we go. We're going to IMDb. Hi, IMDb. Obviously not sponsored with them. Don't care. But I utilize them a lot. So this is The Seventh Samurai. This is the movie that we're basing this whole story off of. Now, there is a lot of options. Now, one thing that I have done through so many of these is that I've tried to pull names out of this movie. I don't want to pull straight out of like all the characters all of the time, but was a very large cast. It was a very long movie, actually, like 3 or 4 hours long. But I've been pulling most of the names for these characters are pulled straight out of here. They're in some way, shape, or form, they're tied into here. I've blended a couple of them. I've play with it a little bit here and there, but for the most part, I've tried to pull them, and I've tried to use a lot of the player character names, and a lot of the names of the various people that are really important are NPC, are names of the actors. It's a little thing. It's a my own personal nod towards my appreciation of the film and my appreciation of what's going on. So what I'll do is for this person, I will name her using a name of someone in the movie. So let's see here. Find my way for the Gano family. I want to find someone. See, these are all these little nobody names. I think gotta be. Let me look at the names here real quick. Let me make sure I haven't already utilized this. I did Shino. Actually, that's perfect. That's perfect. Okay, so this particular character, her name will be Keiko. So there. She has a name, she has a general story, she has a general idea of what's going on. There's no major surprises or questions about any of that. It's all just a matter of how it plays out after that. But this is a character who has some depth. She is a villain. She is trying to kill the people. She is trying to accomplish the goals that run directly contrary to the player characters. But she's not just that. She's not just that mustache twirling like evil thing. She is broken. And she has that option, and she has that ability, that possibility to redeem herself, a possibility to do something more. And if the player characters choose to pursue that, then they have an interesting story to pursue, an interesting idea to look into as far as how to do that, how to make that happen. And I think I think that's a really fun, interesting idea. So, yeah. I'm not going to sit here and make you watch me write all the numbers down for everything. I have the base numbers all set up. I do still need to figure out what her magic weapon's going to be. I do know that whatever weapon she uses, it's going to be a dexterity-based weapon. So it's going to, or a versatile weapon. So I know that she's going to have a +5 on top of her normal modifier. Her base attack modifier is a 14, and she gets a +5 to that, which means that her base attack is a +19. She's not going to miss much. And when she hits, she's going to hit hard. So combat-wise, she's terrifying. But you start exploring her past, who she is, what she represents. Give a player character that cursed item so that they have access to see her beyond just when she's there. And you have some interesting ideas. From here, we can pursue a little bit more. I can pursue a little more of characters, as far as building characters, or I can move on to discussing other things. I think I would like to discuss magic item building because we've just created the need for one. So let's play with that a little bit. I'm gonna open up my book here. I'm gonna go to D&D, go to my D&D folder, my 3.5 folder, and then I'm gonna go to this Ye Old Dungeon Master Guide. Because the wonderful thing about this is we have page 282. We go to page 282. We have how to build magic items. Your magic items, gold piece values. We don't care about that. Other considerations, special materials, ammunition, masterwork items. Okay. Some are magic cost, create items and cost. Here we go. There's just a general list of some of the things that you can have. Now, this is, of course, a list of, less a list of bonuses or abilities as it is a list of what it takes for a player character to make one. We are going to be making a wondrous item. So it's going to have lots of bonuses slash stacking things. But it's all going to be geared towards what the reason it exists. So it's not going to provide ability bonus. It's not going to provide a bonus spell. It's not going to provide an armor class bonus. It is going to be predominantly a functional thing. So I'm going to go ahead and make a tab for magic items. I'm going to do what I've been doing, which is boop, painting that gray so it doesn't make my face look, freaky and white, more so than it already is. And we're going to go from there. All right, so this first one we're gonna call it Keiko's Mirror. Actually, we're gonna call it Keiko's Blood Mirror because it requires blood. So abilities, Abolites. Those are Abolites. Not to be confused with abilities, because clearly an Abolite is so much more interesting than an ability because it's some sort of a monster that inhabits the magic item, right? That's what that means. I think that's clearly what it means to me. I don't know. Okay, anyway, abilities. We also want to make a list of, what was I talking about? I got momentarily lost. All right. Okay, yeah. So abilities. We also want to list into it what the curse is. And then we also want to list into it what the activation. Ability-wise, let's go look at the DMG and see what kind of things they've got available. I don't really need the calculator anymore, so I'm just going to go ahead and close that out because it bothers me to have it open. We want to go here. All right. So spell effects, special charges per day on a uncustomary space limit. No space limitation. So let's see here. Are there any of these we want to look at? I don't think it siphons. I think it siphons life. I think the mechanics of its curse are probably. Let's do that first because it's easier. Where's it? Blood sacrifice to activate. I believe it does. I'm gonna say a D6. I don't want it to be anything major. I also want it healable. A D6 of damage to the user. It's gonna damage every time it is used. D6 damage to person holding get. Person holding get every time it is used. There we go. Abilities. It can. I think just those two small things. It's not a huge advantage, but it's an advantage the players can use. Allows them to see invisible things. It allows them to scry on a target. It is part of the curse. We're going to say it can be used 3 times per day. So, I mean, I feel like that's going to be a big boon to the party because as this party is actually very low on magic. The entire group is comprised of samurai or consorts or other non-magical characters. So giving them an item that allows them to do something like this is a major boon because it's something that none of the player characters would have access to otherwise. So it can be very, very helpful, very, very useful to them. But if it is something if they choose to utilize it and they figure out what it is and what it's for, it's something that they could use to their advantage against Keiko. Now, I do want to add a note because I just had this thought. I might keep it, I might not, but I want to add a note. I want to add a note that if Keiko breaks this mirror, I'm just gonna have her die. I think that if Keiko herself breaks the mirror, she dies. But I also think that getting her to do that, if she breaks the mirror, she is forced to relive the moment of its creation from the perspective of the child, and she dies. There you go. So, if they can get her to break it, then, and the question is, do we want her to? So, I don't want it to be so easy as the party can just hold it up and let her look into it and then she dies. I also don't want it to be so easy in that they just throw it in front of her and she accidentally hacks at it and breaks it and it dies. And she dies. So instead, if Keiko gazes into the mirror for 3 rounds, she is forced to relive the moment. Relive. Here we go. Relive the moment of its creation from the perspective of the child she murdered. And she dies. This gives the party both an item that they can use, but the thing is, in order to get her to do that, they would have to actually speak with her and get her to, in theory, they could capture her, tie her up, and just hold it in front of her face until she looked at it. But the most effective would be to, I beg your pardon, to convince her that she needs to look at this. And so now we have this magic item that is tied to the party forcing or convincing this villain to see what she has done and accept it at the cost of her own life, which further builds that tragic view that I'm going for with this particular story. So yeah, there's that. I think I need a better picture because I just realized that I'm utilizing, I didn't put it here, and I did, and here's why I missed it. Okay, so there's those 2 guys, right? I think, but this is much more epic for her. So I'm gonna actually cut that out. I'm gonna make that her. I'm gonna cut this out. I'm just gonna swap their roles, basically what I'm gonna do. That way they're, it's not really that relevant, but thematically, this feels like more of an epic person. It even happens to be female, it looks like. And this feels like more kind of a grunt, in my opinion, which is what all 3 of these are. This being the major one that's terrifying that will kill the party, potentially. These being the people they have to fight in general. Go back to the stats here. We have the Shadow Assassins, Blood Assassins, the Construct of Blood and Shadow, which is the one I never finished, which is this guy. This guy being the ultimate summon, that one of the encounters that I've already designed into it. If they don't stop it, they will summon this guy, and then the party will have to deal with him, and he will probably kill at least one of them because he's designed for that. But they can stop him from ever showing up if they choose to pursue that storyline. I always like to provide those options and always like to provide that thing. Now, that actually brings me to my other topic that I wanted to talk about today, which is scripting. I as a GM don't typically prepare a lot of scripts. I don't provide a huge list of everything that might happen. I try to anticipate what I can. I try to build things around to provide the opportunities for the party to pursue things, but I don't force it. So I don't write a lot of scripts. But things like this, where Keiko gazes in the mirror, this is a scripted event. And so if they manage to pull this off, sometimes you want to set up that pre-script and that pre-idea of you might have to modify it. Maybe they did it in the street, maybe they did it whatever, or you have to write it in a vague enough way to provide a moment. But if you take the time to do that, especially for pre-generated adventures, you'll sometimes find that when you work out those details, it adds something special. And if you've written it, then when you get to the point of running the game, or even if you've only read it, when you get to that point in the game, you read that script. You don't have to read it. You take the loosey-goosey of what you know the script is, and you make it your own for that moment. scripting is one of the things that often sets apart my great games from my okay games that I run. When I run a game that has no script whatsoever, a lot of times if I'm off the cuffing the whole thing, it kind of shows, at least from my perspective, and I can see where a character's responses to a player character are weak at best. I think that it can be very important. If you're providing an adventure, like in this particular case, I'm writing an adventure for somebody. I'm writing something that will allow them to run a game and tell one cohesive story. And eventually I'll playtest it with some people and see how it goes. We'll see how that flies. I don't know how it'll be. I don't know. But I want to make sure I have everything in, all my ducks in a row, everything in place to what it can and can't be. And one thing that is important in that is if I want a moment to be heavy hitting, I want to take a second to script it. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about if Keiko appears in the mirror, she dies. That's a very light script. It's a little anticlimactic too, because she experiences it, but the party doesn't necessarily get to see it. So, what if, in that moment, instead of just her experiencing it, she and everyone else within 15 feet? Let's say 15 feet is visible to all conscious. So that's what we'll use as the basis. So let's see here. Let's script the moment. I think the scene of this moment is going to be I want to say this battle occurred in a village. So 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be super long, but I don't want it to be super short either, because I want to give it a chance to have the gravitas of the moment. I want to give it a chance to fully play out for everyone to see. This is a scripted event. This is something that the players can experience, but not actually interact with. They're not actually participating in the death of this child, so much as seeing why Keiko became, like finally seeing why Keiko became what she did. So, let's go back up here. Go ahead and type in perspective. And we're going to say that the perspective, do we want to do the perspective as, would it be more impactful to do the perspective from where everyone can see it from the eyes of the child, or as a third person perspective where they watch it occur? I think if we're going for impact, it should be played out from the eyes of the child, except for the final moments. I think the final moments, the last 10 seconds of the moment, should be from the perspective of Keiko herself. So I think it is the child's perspective until they, I don't know if it's a male or a female yet, until they die, upon which the perspective switches to Keiko's. So I'm actually going to change this too. I'm going to change it from scene to location, just because I don't think that that's actually what the scene is per se. I think that the location is a darkened room, a darkened corridor. So, in my mind, this is how this plays out. And I think I can script it better. Well, I can write it out better so that it's better scripted and better written out for consumption if I plot it out. I think the plot points are this. Keiko's target goes into the home. She pursues. Her target has a head start, gets in, heads into a room, finds this little girl. The girl is busy playing with her dolls. Or if it's a little boy, he's busy playing with his dolls. Or child is busy playing with their toys. Again, haven't decided male or female. Not sure that it even honestly matters. But target kneels down and begins speaking with the child. Convinces the child that they have something for them. Uses the mirror to kind of conjure an image for the child to play with as an enticement to get the child to follow them. Her target hears Keiko come enter the building looking for them. They urge the child to get up with them with the intention of using the child as a bargaining chip. Lead the child into the room, into the corridor. Keiko sees the glint of the mirror in the child's hand. She slashes out, flinging her kunai, her shuriken, her whatever blade it is we decide on, in the direction of where the glint is. Instinctively, the blade buries in the child's chest, throat. Probably chest, because it'll be a slower death. Keiko's target laughs, sprints the other direction. Keiko, torn in her grief, rushes the child's side, intent on trying to stop the flow of blood, but the blood is already too much. She was just too good at what she did. All of this from the perspective of the child. So when the child walks around the corner, she sees Keiko, this demon of shadow and night, sprinting down the hallway. The glint of the blade as it flicks through the air, slams into, and then that burst of pain and an inferno of pain and suffering that the child feels as the blade pierces her skin. Perspective of the scene flips. Now Keiko is now kneeling, child in arms, as it dies in her hands. The blood soaks her white armor, or her white cloak. The mirror pulls on the mirror itself. And then the shadows kind of creep up out of the ground, wrap around her, and pull her down into the earth. Something like that. And of course it ends. The party witnesses all this. Whoever's within 15 feet of her witnesses this. And when they come to, that shadow is once more wrapped up around her. It's kind of worked its way up around her feet, and it drags her down, and she's gone. She's dead. She has accepted the responsibility of her own curse, of her own actions. Something like that, anyway. I think that could be really heartfelt. It could be really painful. But it could also be really interesting. And of course, it's only available if the party decides to do anything other than just cut her head off. which I like to reinforce. So, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I think it was an absolutely horrible moment to stop because it creates a whole lot of tension. But I'm going to do it anyway because, honestly, GM, that's what we do. Create that tension. Create that moment. But all for the heart of the story. All to make things entertaining and let everyone have enjoyment in what they do. It's always the goal. I hope that your games are heartfelt and enjoyable, if that's what you want. Epic and amazing, if that's what you want. I hope your table works together to craft something amazing. And until next time, I'll keep working on it myself. Have a good night.